Ladies and gentlemen, life. It has a funny way of surprising us, doesn't it? We make plans, we set goals, we work hard, and yet life has a way of throwing curveballs we never saw coming. At times it feels as if the odds are stacked against us. The world seems to push back and we're left standing in a place we never imagined ourselves to be. But you know what? Sometimes you have to cheat with life. But before you judge that phrase, hear me out. We're not talking about cheating in a way that harms or deceives others. No, this is about bending the rules that life throws at you. It's about learning to rewrite your own script when you're handed a plot twist you didn't sign up for. Let me explain. Life doesn't always give us a fair chance. It doesn't always provide the perfect circumstances for us to thrive. Maybe we don't have the resources we need. Maybe we're born into situations we didn't choose. Or maybe the road ahead looks too tough to travel. The world will tell us to accept it, to settle for what is given to us. But what if we decide not to? Sometimes you have to cheat with life by refusing to be a victim of your circumstances. You cheat by not letting your hardships define who you are. You cheat by finding strength in places that others might never look. You cheat by creating possibilities where there were none and daring to dream bigger than what society says is possible for you. It's about turning every no into a yes in your own way, carving out your own space when the world doesn't make room for you. It's not about taking shortcuts, it's about taking the untraveled path, the one that others overlook, because that's where the magic happens. When life hands you obstacles, and it will, don't wait for permission to rise above them. Don't wait for the perfect moment, because the truth is there will never be a perfect moment. Instead, create one. When the world tells you to stay down, show it how high you can fly. When life tells you that your dreams are impossible, prove that anything is possible if you have the courage to fight for it. You see, life doesn't owe you fairness. It doesn't owe you success. But what life does owe you is your own courage to challenge it, your own will to rise, to cheat those rules that try to hold you down. And remember, cheating with life is not about dishonesty. It's about the audacity to believe that your dreams, your voice, your purpose deserve to take precedence. It's about creating a life that is authentically yours, no matter the obstacles in the way. So my friends, cheat with life. Bend the rules, break free from the limitations, dream the impossible and live the impossible. Make life bow to your determination, because sometimes you don't need permission to live your life on your own terms. At some point in life, everyone encounters moments that challenge them to their core, whether it's through unexpected loss, health struggles, financial difficulties, or even just the overwhelming nature of trying to make sense of a chaotic world. Challenges are inevitable. Yet, how we respond to those challenges defines who we are. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that the circumstances we face are insurmountable, that they somehow dictate the direction of our lives. But here's the truth. We are never truly defined by our circumstances unless we choose to let them define us. The moment we decide to challenge our circumstances, to push back against what we're handed, is the moment we start taking control of our story. Life doesn't give us a smooth, predictable path. It's filled with detours, obstacles, and sometimes total roadblocks. But it is within our power to change the way we perceive these hurdles. We don't have to passively accept what life throws at us. Instead, we have the ability to react, adapt, and rise above. When we challenge our circumstances, we're not denying that difficult situations exist. We're not pretending that everything is easy or that pain doesn't have a place in our lives. We're acknowledging that while circumstances might be beyond our control, our response to those circumstances is always within our control. Our response is where we hold the power. Too often, people fall into the trap of playing the victim to their circumstances. It's a natural reaction, especially when life feels overwhelming. When things go wrong, it's easy to feel like there's nothing you can do, like the world is against you. But the power of challenging our circumstances is that it shifts our mindset from victimhood to agency. We stop waiting for someone or something else to fix things. Instead, we take ownership and start looking for ways to move forward, regardless of how tough the situation may be. Challenging your circumstances means refusing to be passive in the face of adversity. It requires active engagement with your life, with the problems that arise, and with the choices you make in response to them. It's about developing the mindset that while you can't control everything that happens to you, you can always control how you respond. For example, consider the story of someone facing a health crisis. Perhaps they've been diagnosed with a serious illness that requires extensive treatment. It's easy to let fear, anger, and despair take over. It's natural to feel helpless in that moment. But challenging your circumstances means choosing to not be defined by your illness. It means deciding that while the illness may change aspects of your life, it will not change who you are or your determination to keep living fully. This could mean finding joy in the small moments, refusing to let the illness take away your sense of purpose, or even seeking out new ways to thrive in spite of the disease. It's about being resilient, finding strength in adversity, and pushing against the weight of the situation with everything you've got. Challenging your circumstances doesn't mean you'll always succeed immediately or that the road ahead will be free of pain. There will be days when it feels like nothing is going your way, when it feels like you've been knocked down too many times to get back up. But in those moments, it's important to remember that resilience is built through struggle. It's when we are faced with our toughest challenges that we have the opportunity to grow the most. Without adversity, we remain stagnant, never learning the depths of our own strength, perseverance, and capacity to overcome. When you challenge your circumstances, you tap into the deepest parts of yourself. You learn to question what you've always believed about what is possible. You begin to recognize that sometimes the biggest obstacle to overcoming our circumstances is the story we tell ourselves about those circumstances. If we believe that the situation is insurmountable, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. But if we shift our perspective even slightly and start to believe that there's always something we can do, something within our control, we open the door to possibility. It's also important to acknowledge that challenging your circumstances doesn't mean doing so in isolation. It doesn't mean pretending to be invincible or that you have everything figured out. There's a strength in recognizing that you don't have to face everything alone, whether it's asking for help, leaning on a support system, or allowing others to guide and inspire you. Challenging your circumstances often involves collaboration, connection, and community. No one is truly self-made. We all rely on the support and wisdom of others to help us navigate difficult times. So part of challenging your circumstances is also learning to accept help when it's offered, and being open to receiving the encouragement and support you need. Another crucial element in challenging your circumstances is refusing to accept a life of mediocrity. Too often we settle into a routine because it feels safer or easier. We get comfortable in situations where we're unhappy, unhealthy, or unfulfilled because the fear of change is greater than the fear of staying the same. But when we challenge our circumstances, we refuse to stay in places that no longer serve us. Whether it's a toxic relationship, a soul-draining job, or a stagnant lifestyle, we recognize that we deserve better. Challenging our circumstances is about raising our standards, having the courage to demand more from life, and believing that we're worthy of happiness, success, and peace. The key to challenging your circumstances is to remember that while you can't always control the situations that arise, you always have the power to decide how you respond. Even when the world feels as if it's crumbling around you, you have a choice. You can decide to be angry, bitter, or resentful, or you can choose to rise above. You can choose to transform the hardship into an opportunity for growth, a lesson in resilience, or a chance to develop new strengths you didn't know you had. We've all heard the saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. While this might sound cliche, there's truth in it. Every hardship, every challenge, every tough moment is an opportunity to strengthen your character and your resolve. It's through those tough moments that we discover parts of ourselves we never knew existed. We uncover reserves of strength, creativity, and perseverance that we didn't realize we had. But we only uncover them when we challenge our circumstances, when we stop letting the obstacles dictate our fate and decide instead that we will find a way forward. In some ways, the greatest form of rebellion is to thrive despite the odds. When life is difficult, the easy option is to give up, to let the circumstances overwhelm you. But when you rise above those circumstances, when you refuse to accept defeat, when you push against the tide and continue to move forward with unwavering faith in yourself, that is where the true magic happens. That's where you'll find your strength. That's where you'll find the resilience that not only changes your life, but also inspires others to do the same. Challenging your circumstances isn't just about survival. It's about thriving in spite of the adversity. It's about taking control of your story and refusing to be a passive participant in your own life. Every challenge presents an opportunity, not just for survival, but for growth, for reinvention, and for greatness. And so remember that the next time life presents an obstacle in your path, don't allow it to define you. Instead, rise to the challenge, push back against it. Challenge your circumstances with all your strength, creativity, and resilience. Because when you do, you discover something remarkable about yourself. That no matter how tough life gets, you are stronger, braver, and more capable than you ever imagined. Living authentically is one of the most powerful choices you can make. In a world that constantly pushes us to fit into molds, to meet external expectations, and to live according to other people's standards, choosing to live authentically is an act of both courage and self-respect. It means showing up as the truest version of yourself, without apology, without trying to please others or live up to a false image. But living authentically is not just about being true to who you are in the moment. It's also about aligning your actions with your core values, your purpose, and your deepest desires. Authenticity starts with self-awareness. You cannot live authentically if you do not first understand who you are. This involves introspection, asking yourself deep, sometimes uncomfortable questions. What do I value? What are my passions? What are the things that light me up and make me feel alive? Understanding your own motivations and desires is a crucial first step toward authenticity because it gives you the clarity you need to make choices that are aligned with your true self. It requires the courage to face the parts of yourself that may be difficult or messy, to embrace both your strengths and your imperfections. When you are in tune with your own truth, you no longer feel the need to conform to societal pressures or expectations. It becomes less important to compare yourself to others because you are focused on creating a life that resonates with your values and desires. One of the most liberating aspects of living authentically is realizing that you don't need anyone's approval to be yourself. The world will always have something to say about how you should look, how you should act, and what you should want. But when you live authentically, you stop seeking external validation. You trust yourself enough to know that you are enough, just as you are. Living authentically also means being willing to stand out. It means not being afraid to express yourself in ways that might be different from the norm. This can feel intimidating because the world often rewards conformity. We are taught from a young age to fit in, to blend into the background, to follow the crowd. But authenticity challenges that idea. It calls you to embrace your uniqueness, to celebrate what makes you different, and to trust that your individuality is your greatest strength. It's about knowing that the world needs you exactly as you are. You do not have to change or dilute yourself to be accepted. In fact, when you show up as your true self, you attract the people and opportunities that align with your authenticity. There's also a deep freedom in living authentically. When you stop pretending to be something you're not, you free yourself from the mental and emotional burden of trying to maintain an image or please others. You stop wasting energy on performing for the approval of people who don't truly see you. Instead, you invest that energy in pursuing what truly matters to you. Authenticity is about taking ownership of your life, of your choices, your beliefs, your actions, and recognizing that you don't need anyone's permission to be who you are. This freedom allows you to take risks, to be vulnerable, and to pursue dreams that others might think are too unconventional or too bold. Living authentically also involves setting boundaries that protect your true self. It's about saying no to things that don't align with your values and yes to the things that do. It can be challenging at first, especially when you're used to pleasing others or avoiding conflict. But authenticity requires the ability to stand firm in your convictions and protect your energy. It's about honoring your needs, even if that means disappointing others or going against the grain. Setting boundaries is not about being selfish. It's about recognizing that you cannot give from an empty cup. To live authentically, you must first take care of yourself, physically, emotionally, and mentally. Only then can you truly show up for others and for the world in a way that reflects your true self. Another key aspect of living authentically is vulnerability. It's about being open, honest, and real with others. This doesn't mean sharing every detail of your life with everyone, but it does mean being truthful about who you are and where you stand. Vulnerability allows for deeper, more meaningful connections with others. When you show up authentically, people feel your honesty, and that fosters trust. It's in these authentic connections that we experience real intimacy, support, and understanding. Vulnerability may feel uncomfortable, but it is often through our vulnerability that we find our strength and our greatest growth. Living authentically also involves accepting that not everyone will understand or appreciate your choices. People who are accustomed to seeing you in a certain light may have difficulty adjusting to the new, more authentic version of yourself. This can lead to criticism or rejection, but authenticity isn't about pleasing others. It's about being true to yourself, even when it's uncomfortable. You may lose relationships along the way, but you will also attract those who resonate with your truth. The people who matter will support you for who you are, not for who you pretend to be. And the relationships you cultivate will be deeper, more genuine, and more fulfilling because they are based on mutual respect and authenticity. Living authentically also requires a level of self-compassion. There will be times when you falter, when you fall back into old patterns of seeking approval or trying to be someone you're not. But part of living authentically is being kind to yourself during those moments. It's about forgiving yourself for mistakes, being patient with your growth, and accepting that living authentically is a journey, not a destination. It's okay to take small steps, to experiment and to adjust as you learn more about yourself. What matters is that you continue to commit to the process of being true to who you are, no matter what. Living authentically is not about perfection. It's not about having everything figured out or always being confident in who you are. It's about embracing the imperfect, messy, and evolving nature of life. Authenticity isn't about fitting into a preconceived idea of what it means to be perfect. It's about being real, embracing your flaws, and allowing yourself the grace to grow. When you stop trying to meet external standards and start living in alignment with your true self, you begin to experience a sense of inner peace and fulfillment that comes from knowing that you are exactly who you were meant to be. Embracing change is one of the most challenging yet powerful decisions we can make in life. We often resist change because it brings uncertainty, and uncertainty by nature is uncomfortable. Our minds tend to seek comfort and predictability, creating a desire for stability and control. However, in trying to avoid change, we also limit our potential and growth. Change is an essential part of life, and rather than seeing it as a threat, we can learn to view it as an opportunity for transformation and evolution. The way we respond to change can determine the course of our lives, and choosing to embrace it fully opens up a world of possibilities. At the heart of embracing change is the ability to let go of old patterns and beliefs that no longer serve us. We often become attached to ways of thinking, acting, or living because they have worked for us in the past, or because they provide a sense of security. But when we hold on to the past too tightly, we create a barrier to future growth. Change requires us to release these attachments, to acknowledge that while our past experiences have shaped who we are, they don't have to define our future. This doesn't mean discarding everything we've learned, but rather being open to new ways of thinking and being. By letting go of the need for things to stay the same, we allow ourselves the freedom to evolve and adapt. One of the most powerful aspects of embracing change is the opportunity it gives us to reinvent ourselves. Change often forces us to step outside of our comfort zones. And stepping outside of our comfort zones is where growth happens. It's where we discover strengths and abilities we never knew we had. When we face new challenges or experiences, we are forced to adapt, to become more resourceful, and to develop skills that we didn't know we were capable of. Whether it's changing careers, starting a new relationship, or navigating a personal crisis, embracing change means stepping into the unknown, and in doing so, we open ourselves up to the possibility of becoming more than we ever imagined. The fear of change is often rooted in the unknown. We fear what we can't predict or control, and this fear can paralyze us. But the truth is, change is inevitable, and trying to avoid it only leads to stagnation. Life is in a constant state of flux, and we cannot control all of the variables that affect our journey. What we can control, however, is how we respond to change. When we accept change as a natural part of life, we stop fighting against it and start flowing with it. We begin to trust the process, even when it's difficult to see the end result. Embracing change requires a leap of faith, a belief that even though we cannot predict the outcome, we will be better for having taken the journey. When we embrace change, we also cultivate resilience. Resilience is the ability to adapt to adversity and bounce back from challenges, and it's something that is strengthened through experience. Each time we face a change and navigate through it, we become more resilient. We learn that we are capable of handling whatever life throws our way. Change can be uncomfortable, and it may require us to face our fears, insecurities, or vulnerability. But it's in these moments of discomfort that we grow the most. We learn that we are stronger than we think, and that we have the capacity to handle uncertainty with grace and courage. Another aspect of embracing change is the potential for new opportunities. Often when things change, it opens up a door that we never would have considered before. We might find ourselves in a new place, meeting new people, or exposed to new ideas and experiences that we would not have encountered had we stayed in our comfort zone. Change creates space for new possibilities, and sometimes the most unexpected opportunities arise from the most difficult or challenging transitions. What feels like a setback or loss can, in time, reveal itself to be a new beginning, a chance to pursue something that aligns more closely with our values and desires. Embracing change means remaining open to the unknown and trusting that the right opportunities will present themselves, even when we can't see them immediately. Of course, embracing change doesn't mean blindly rushing into every new experience that comes our way. It's important to approach change with discernment and self-awareness. We must evaluate whether a change aligns with our values and goals, and whether it feels right for us in the long term. Not all change is beneficial, and not all opportunities are the right fit. However, by cultivating a mindset that welcomes change and views it as an opportunity for growth, we open ourselves up to the possibility of discovering what is truly meaningful to us. Change becomes less about reacting to external forces and more about actively shaping our lives in a way that aligns with who we are and who we want to become. Embracing change is also an act of self-compassion. Change often requires us to confront our fears, insecurities, and self-doubt. It can be intimidating to step into new situations, especially if we're uncertain about our abilities. But instead of criticizing ourselves for our fears or doubts, we must learn to treat ourselves with kindness and patience. Self-compassion allows us to acknowledge that change can be difficult, that it's okay to feel vulnerable, and that it's normal to experience discomfort during periods of transition. When we are kind to ourselves in the midst of change, we reduce the pressure to be perfect or to have all the answers. Instead, we give ourselves the grace to learn, adapt, and grow at our own pace. When life feels predictable and structured, it's easy to follow the established path. We create routines, set goals, and often move along without much thought. But life, as we all know, doesn't always go according to plan. The road we travel isn't always smooth, and sometimes the path that we thought was clear is suddenly blocked by something unexpected. At these times, we have to take a step back and consider an important question. If the world isn't offering the path we imagined, why not rewrite our own story? Rewriting your story isn't about ignoring reality or pretending that challenges don't exist. It's about taking ownership of your narrative in a way that acknowledges the circumstances you've been given, while also refusing to let those circumstances limit what you can achieve. It's about recognizing that even in the face of difficulty, you still have the power to define who you are and what you want to become. Every person has the ability to transform their life, not by escaping the difficulties they face, but by reshaping the way they approach those difficulties. So many times we become so attached to the idea of how life should be that we fail to see the opportunities in front of us. We spend our time thinking of the things we didn't get or the paths we didn't take. But the truth is, there is no singular path. There is no one right way to live your life. We are constantly shaping our journey with every decision we make, every new challenge we take on, and every shift in perspective we embrace. When we talk about rewriting our story, it means looking beyond the limitations that others and even we ourselves may have placed on us. We often spend a lot of time listening to society's expectations. We're told what success should look like, what happiness should feel like, and how our lives should progress. But the most freeing thing we can do is stop waiting for permission from others or for the world to give us the perfect life. The truth is, we each hold the pen to our own story, and it's up to us to decide how it will unfold. The first step in rewriting your story is understanding that you are not bound by the experiences of your past. Too often we allow past mistakes, failures, or disappointments to define who we are. We internalize the negative messages we've received from others or from our own self-doubt. But your past does not have to dictate your future. The person you were yesterday doesn't have to be the person you are today, and certainly doesn't have to be the person you become. Every new day is an opportunity to write a new chapter. You get to decide who you want to be in this moment, not who you've been. Rewriting your story also requires a shift in how you see your challenges. Life will always present obstacles, but how you perceive them can change everything. Instead of seeing difficulties as roadblocks, start seeing them as opportunities to learn and grow. Every challenge presents a chance to reinvent yourself, to discover strengths you didn't know you had, and to build resilience. When you stop viewing challenges as insurmountable walls, you begin to see them as stepping stones that move you closer to your true potential. It's in overcoming these hurdles that you grow, and it's through that growth that you become the person you are meant to be. Another crucial aspect of rewriting your story is letting go of the need for approval from others. We live in a world that constantly tells us how we should look, act, and be. We are bombarded with external expectations from social media to societal standards, all of which can easily make us feel inadequate. But when you decide to take control of your story, you stop waiting for validation. You stop measuring your worth by other people's standards. Instead, you embrace your individuality and decide that your journey is yours and yours alone. You don't need permission to be yourself, to chase your dreams, or to live in a way that feels authentic to you. Living authentically requires immense courage. It means making decisions that may not make sense to others but are deeply meaningful to you. It may mean taking risks that others wouldn't dare take. It means choosing to follow your passion even if the road is uncertain or difficult. But the reward for living authentically is immeasurable. When you rewrite your story, you reclaim your agency. You become the protagonist of your own narrative, rather than just a bystander waiting for things to happen. Rewriting your story doesn't necessarily mean making huge, drastic changes all at once. It can begin with small shifts in how you think, how you view yourself, and how you interact with the world. It can mean setting new goals that are more aligned with who you are today, rather than who you thought you were supposed to be. It can mean setting boundaries that honor your needs, or walking away from situations that no longer serve your growth. It's about making decisions that reflect your true desires rather than what you think you should want. In this process, there will be moments of doubt. You will question whether you have the strength to make the changes necessary to rewrite your story. But here's the beauty. The fact that you are questioning means you are already moving toward transformation. The journey of rewriting your story is not linear. It's messy, uncertain, and often full of self-reflection. But it is always worth it. When you decide to rewrite your story, you are giving yourself permission to grow, to evolve, and to change. You are choosing to be the author of your own life, to take control of your destiny, and not allow circumstances, limitations, or anyone else to dictate what you can achieve. You are embracing the idea that your life can be anything you choose it to be, no matter how much the world may try to tell you otherwise. Rewriting your story isn't about changing who you are. It's about giving yourself the freedom to become who you were always meant to be. It's about shedding the versions of yourself that no longer serve you and embracing the next chapter with hope, courage, and conviction. It's about knowing that the power to shape your life has always been in your hands. So take that pen and write the story you want to live. Resilience is often seen as a trait that's only exhibited in the most challenging of times. And in some ways, that's true. It's a quality that helps us endure hardship, face adversity, and recover from setbacks. But resilience is more than just the ability to bounce back. It's the internal strength to keep moving forward, even when it feels like everything around you is falling apart. It's about digging deep within yourself to find the courage to press on, despite how difficult or uncertain the journey may be. And while resilience is often born out of struggle, it's also a mindset, a way of thinking and approaching life that can be cultivated and strengthened over time. Life doesn't always go the way we expect it to. We make plans, we set goals, and we work toward them, only to be met with obstacles that feel insurmountable. Whether it's a personal crisis, a professional setback, or an unexpected turn of events, the challenges we face can leave us feeling defeated and hopeless. But resilience allows us to take those moments of despair and transform them into fuel for growth. It teaches us that no matter how tough things get, we are capable of rising above them. Resilience is the ability to endure hardships while still maintaining a sense of hope and purpose. It doesn't mean that you won't feel pain, frustration, or fear, because those emotions are natural. What resilience does is allow you to feel those emotions, acknowledge them, and then choose to move forward anyway. It's not about pretending everything is fine or ignoring the difficulty of the situation. It's about choosing to take action despite the challenges. It's about making the decision to not let life's difficulties stop you from pursuing your goals, your dreams, or your purpose. At the core of resilience is the understanding that failure is not the end of the road. It's a part of the journey. Everyone faces failure at some point in their lives. Whether it's failing a test, losing a job, or dealing with personal loss, failure can feel like a devastating blow. But resilient people see failure as a lesson, not a defeat. They understand that failure is a stepping stone to success, that every mistake or setback offers valuable insights that can help them grow. Instead of letting failure define them, they use it to fuel their desire to try again, to keep going and to improve. Resilience teaches us that failure is not permanent. It's simply a temporary detour on the way to success. One of the most powerful aspects of resilience is its ability to help us maintain hope in the face of adversity. When life gets tough, it's easy to feel like things will never get better, that we're stuck in a cycle of struggle with no way out. But resilience is the ability to hold on to hope, even when the situation seems hopeless. It's the belief that no matter how dark the road ahead may seem, there is always a way forward. Resilient people hold on to the belief that things will improve, even if they can't see the way right now. They trust that the pain they're experiencing is temporary, and that in time they will emerge stronger, wiser, and more capable. The strength that comes from resilience is not just mental, but emotional as well. Emotional resilience is the ability to manage your emotions in the face of stress or hardship. It's about being able to stay calm and composed even when things feel chaotic. It's about learning to cope with the emotions that arise during difficult times, whether that's fear, sadness, anger, or frustration, and using them to drive you forward rather than letting them overwhelm you. Emotional resilience helps us to stay grounded, to keep our perspective, and to approach life's challenges with a clear mind. Building resilience is a lifelong process. It's not something that happens overnight, but rather something that grows through experience. Each time we face adversity and rise above it, we become more resilient. Each challenge we overcome strengthens our capacity to handle the next one. And with every setback, we learn new strategies for coping and growing. Resilience is built on a foundation of self-awareness, self-compassion, and a willingness to grow through adversity. It's about being able to recognize when you need help and having the courage to seek support. It's about being open to change and finding new ways to adapt to the difficulties life throws at you. Resilience is also about taking responsibility for your own life. It's about understanding that you have the power to shape your response to the world around you. You can't always control the circumstances you face, but you can control how you react to them. Resilient people don't blame others or external factors for their struggles. Instead, they take ownership of their situation and focus on what they can do to move forward. This sense of personal accountability empowers them to take action, even when the odds are against them. In many ways, resilience is a muscle that we all have the potential to strengthen. The more we practice resilience, the easier it becomes to face challenges head-on and keep moving forward, even when things feel overwhelming. Life will always throw curveballs at us, and there will be times when it feels like everything is falling apart, but resilience allows us to see those moments as opportunities to grow, to adapt, and to emerge stronger than before. It teaches us that no matter what we face, we have the strength within us to rise, to overcome, and to keep moving forward.